Hi, my name is Fiona. I'm a recovered insomniac, and everybody thinks that I healed my insomnia by following the doctor's orders. And by following the doctor's orders, I mean that I did everything that I was told to do. Everything from avoiding coffee to taking supplements to spending time outside to spending time with my loved ones. And guess what? None of it worked. In fact, it made my insomnia so much worse. And before we get into it in more detail, there's a 5 days to better sleep email series linked below. It is packed with all of the knowledge that I wish I had first found when I was struggling with insomnia. And it is definitely a really good starting point for you to kickstart your recovery. When I first started struggling with insomnia, I tried to turn to everybody for help. I went to the doctors, tried to speak to my partner about it, to my friends, to my family, to my therapist, and I tried to implement all of their suggestions. In fact, I would have been a A+ student at all of the things that they suggested I do. Because I definitely tried it all. I tried the over the counter medications like the antihistamines and even sleep meds. I tried melatonin. I tried magnesium. Even like my life coach at the time said, "Oh, melatonin always works for me." And in fact, that almost made me feel like I was actually crazy because all of these things that would apparently work for everybody else didn't seem like they were working for me. And also, once I went to the doctors, it's quite normal for us to think like doctors are experts with all things medical. Well, let me tell you that it could not be further away from the truth. In fact, looking back now and as a sleep coach, I can tell you doctors receive close to zero training on sleep. In fact, they could probably make your insomnia worse. And I'm not trying to say that taking sleep medications is bad for insomnia. It just doesn't actually get to the root cause of the problem. And once I started educating myself on insomnia, it was all so clear as to why all of their suggestions weren't working. I had to understand that insomnia did had nothing to do with whether or not I was stressed out in my current life, and it had absolutely nothing to do with what first triggered my insomnia. And yes, that kind of cycle is definitely started by an initial trigger where you perhaps have a few sleepless nights, but the sleepless nights then become a problem of their own when you then react to that sleeplessness poorly. You react in a way where you are teaching your brain that the fact that you are not sleeping is in some way a threat to your survival. And I'm not going to lie, actually finding that information took me a while. It took me a while to truly understand that there wasn't a quick fix to insomnia. But once I actually started learning about insomnia, the cycle of insomnia, and that recovery was truly within my own hands, I actually stopped talking to everybody else about the issue. And not speaking about the issue helped for so many different reasons. For one, it stopped giving insomnia and the fact that I was not sleeping so much of an emphasis. And it also meant that I wasn't going to take advice from people who hadn't recovered from what I was trying to recover from. And I feel like it actually goes to that same point. Like, would you actually take advice from people's lives who you don't want to live? And that's almost kind of like a mantra that I live by. But also, secondly, like, why would you ask people for advice who have no information or no knowledge around the subject? And in a way, I don't blame other people for giving you or like even me this advice. In fact, I thank them for caring and for wanting to talk about it because I know that they don't want to see me suffer. Like my doctor and my loved ones, they don't want to see me suffer, and they haven't maybe even gone through the experience themselves, but they're simply offering up information based on what they've been taught and what they know. And for some time, I used to be quite frustrated by the fact that they were giving me such poor information. But I also now don't blame them. Like, I know that people were trying to help, but unfortunately, there's so much misinformation out there around sleep, around how much we need, around whether or not it is or isn't detrimental for our health. And all these people were truly trying to do is help my cause. And once I started realizing that everything that was perpetuating the cycle was actually my own body trying to keep me safe, everything clicked. I finally understood, okay, there's actually nothing I need to fix here. This is purely my own body being very intelligent at trying to avoid an unwanted future emotion, an unwanted future situation, and an unwanted potential threat. the threat of the fact that I wasn't sleeping. And once you understand how insomnia is perpetrated, then you can also understand that trying all of these like quick fixes or sleep hacks actually make the situation worse. And they make the situation worse because they make you think that by implementing the sleep hygiene routines or like the habits or like the, I don't know, the melatonin or the supplements or whatever you're doing to make yourself sleep, you're confirming to your brain that there is something to fear, which is the fear of wakefulness. And when I first started learning about insomnia, it wasn't so easy for me to just like let go of all of the beliefs that I had around sleep. But in a way, it almost took a huge weight off of my shoulders because it truly made me realize like, wow, I actually don't need all of these things to sleep. Sleep is something that happens completely naturally, and once I actually understood that very fundamental and important factor, the fact that sleep happens completely by itself, it almost gave me the mental space and the capacity to stop thinking about it as much because I just knew that I no longer had to go in and fix this problem. In a way, actually, the fix truly was no fixing at all. And what actually ended up fixing or kind of like helping me recover long term, I cover always in four different steps. It truly started with that educational component. It was learning about the cycle of insomnia, it was learning what perpetuated that situation. And then, second, it was learning what was befriending wakefulness or what befriending wakefulness looked like for me, everything from addressing like the mental chatter all day and all night around sleep, how to also deal with those situations when I was awake or when I was feeling uncomfortable. Three, I also had to learn to be very uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. Insomnia is both the most rewarding and also hardest experience that I have ever had to go through. I wouldn't wish this situation on my worst enemy, but I knew that the way forwards and the way and the path to recovery was definitely within reach for me, and that the way through that was going to be uncomfortable. And I had to be very, very comfortable with that fact because there was just no way of avoiding it. In fact, the more you try and avoid it and try and avoid the situation of discomfort, the louder and like the more persistent insomnia becomes. And then fourth, the most important kind of like aspect of them all is truly learning how to deploy self kindness and compassion to oneself. Our natural instincts as insomniacs is to want to control the problem, to try and be perfect, to implement all the things. And this is truly one of those situations that you just need to learn to fully let go of because there is absolutely nothing you can actually do to be perfect at this. There's actually no such thing as being like a perfect recovered insomniac. In fact, the way out of insomnia is learning to love that perfectly imperfect version of yourself. If you have liked this video, please give me a like and subscribe as it helps me hugely and it'll help me get my message out to fellow struggling insomniacs. Just trust me, you don't need to be alone in this, and recovery is definitely possible for you.